Hello everyone, welcome to the course Lasers, Fundamentals and Applications. In the previous two lectures, we have seen what is meant by lasers, their characteristics, what is the effect of radiation when it is interacting with matter. Also, in the second lecture, we have seen different principles of lasers, that is stimulated absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission processes. We have also seen the population inversion condition for lasers. So in this lecture, we are going to study the characteristics of lasers or properties of lasers in details. So let us see the properties of lasers. So we know that the conventional light sources, they emit light in all directions. And when we need light in only particular direction, we put aperture in front of this light source and we get a slit out of it, right? So lasers, on the other hand, lasers can produce light only in particular direction. It is because the lasers, they are placed in cylindrical cavity and only the light along the cavity axis is passed through the output window or output mirror. So what are these different characteristics or properties of lasers? So these characteristics are high directionality, high degree of monochromativity, extremely high coherence, and high intensity. The laser light can also be produced as polarized light. The laser light can also be produced in the form of pulses having very high power output. So these are the characteristics of laser that we are going to study in this lecture. So let us first study the first property, directionality. So we know that the conventional light sources, they emit light in all directions. In the case of lasers, we have a cylindrical cavity. So in the case of lasers, our active medium is placed inside the cylindrical cavity, and that light, that is, so this is axis of this cavity. So light that is coming parallel to the cavity axis, that only will be passed through this output mirror. So this is output mirror. Let's say this is M1, M2 and this is M1. So there are two mirrors in the laser cavity that we will see in details in the next lectures. So only the light that is coming parallel to the cavity axis is passed through the output mirror, and the light that is in direction other than that of the cavity axis, that light is reflected back, right? So if the light is something in different direction, it may be reflected with the cylindrical cavity, or it may be reflected at the output mirror. Hence, the light emitted by the laser is only in the one direction. The directionality of the laser is expressed in terms of beam divergence. The directionality is expressed in terms of beam divergence. So light from the laser diverges very little, and when the light that is coming out from the laser, it travels some distance from the laser, it is almost parallel to up to certain distance. So it is a parallel bundle of light up to certain distance, and that distance up to which the laser beam is parallel is called as relay range. So it is called as relay range. So let us say this is the laser output mirror, and this laser beam is coming out of this laser window. So the up to certain distance the laser beam is almost parallel, and after that distance it starts diverging. So this divergence is very small, and this distance is called as relay range. So this is relay range, the distance up to which the laser beam remains parallel is called as relay range. And after this distance, the laser beam starts diverging. So after this, the laser beam starts diverging. So the divergence of the laser is expressed in terms of divergence angle theta. So that divergence angle theta, so this is divergence angle, so this angle is the angle between the center of the laser beam and edge of the laser beam. So the angle measured from the center of the laser beam to the edge of the laser beam is called as divergence angle, and that edge of the laser beam is also defined in terms of the intensity, right? So this is edge of the laser beam. So at the edge of the laser beam, the intensity is 1/E times the intensity at the center. So whatever the intensity at the center, that 1/E times the intensity is reached, that portion we call it edge, and the angle between this edge and this axis or center of the laser beam is called as divergence angle. There are two parameters which cause laser beam divergence. So these parameters are, first one is size of beam waist, and second one is diffraction. So one by one we'll see the effect of these two things on the divergence of laser beam. So let us first see the effect of size of the beam wedge. So we have seen the angle between the center of the laser beam and edge of the laser beam is called as beam divergence angle. So twice the angle of beam divergence is called as full angle beam divergence. The full angle beam divergence is given by 2 theta is equal to 4 lambda upon pi d0, where this d0 is the diameter of beam wedge. So it is the diameter of beam wedge. So if our laser beam is like this, so this diameter is d0, which is equal to twice w0, where w0 is the radius of the beam wedge, right? So this angle is called as full angle beam divergence, and sometimes this angle is used to denote the how much the laser beam is diverged, right? So one can see from this equation is that full angle beam divergence is inversely proportional to the beam wedge, right? So smaller the beam wedge, larger is the divergence angle. That means larger is the divergence. That means lasers having small beam wedge, they diverges more, right? So this is the effect of beam wedge on the divergence of lasers. So now let us see the effect of diffraction on the divergence of laser. So let us see effect of diffraction. So we know that the diffraction is the bending of light beam at the edges of the obstacle, right? So in the case of laser, we have this output window here, and this output window has edges, right? So laser beam coming out of this output window, so the beam that is closer to the this edge of this window, there is effect due to the diffraction on this window, and that effect causes the divergence of laser beam. So there is divergence of laser beam due to the edges of the output window or output mirror. This divergence due to the diffraction can be calculated by using Rayleigh's criteria. So that divergence due to the defect is equal to theta is equal to 1.22 times lambda upon d, where this capital D is the diameter of output window. So D is the diameter of the output window, and one can see that if the diameter is large, the diffraction will be small, right? For the small diameter of the output window, the diffraction will be large because it is inversely proportional. So in case of gas lasers, the effect of diffraction on the divergence of laser beam is almost twice as that of the effect due to size of the beam wedge. For helium neon laser, the typical divergence is of the order of 10 raised to minus 3 radians. That means the diameter of laser beam will increase by 1 millimeter for every 1 meter it travels. So the diameter will increase by 1 millimeter for every 1 meter it travels. For the large lasers, the divergence can be as small as few micro degrees. Right? So for the large lasers, that may be of the order of few micro degrees. So it is very small, and for in that case, if we have a large laser of this kind of beam divergence, it will diverge very little. For example, if we focus that laser beam from Earth to the Moon, it will diverge only, so the diameter will increase only by 10 meters after reaching the surface of Moon. That means very little divergence in the case of large lasers. So let us study another property of lasers, monochromaticity. If the light coming from the source has only one frequency of oscillation, then that source is called as monochromatic source. In practice, it is not possible to produce light with only one frequency. Light coming out from any source consists of a band of frequencies centered around a center frequency. So the band of frequencies is like this, and it is centered above the central frequency mu 0. This band of frequencies is called as bandwidth or line width. So it is measured at the point where the intensity falls to the half of the maximum frequency. So the line width is measured at this point where the intensity of the light that falls to the half of the maximum. So this is also called as full width at half maximum. So full width at half maximum is the measure of the line width or bandwidth of any source. So in the case of laser, we use this terminology, bandwidth or line width. The light from conventional sources has line widths of the order of 10 raised to 10 hertz. So the conventional sources has line width, very high line width. In the case of laser, the line width is of the order of 100 hertz. So that means the laser has very small line width. That means the laser, if you compare with the conventional source, the laser beam will be like this. So it is having very small line width. So it is having very small line width, delta mu. And because of that, the laser light is said to be monochromatic. Let us see another property of lasers, intensity. So in the case of lasers, what we have, the output power of the laser that may vary from few milliwatt to few kilowatts. So very high power of the laser is concentrated in the form of very small beam of light. And because of that, the laser beam is having very high intensity. The intensity of laser beam is expressed in terms of wavelength and output power as I is equal to 10 by lambda square into P watt per meter square. So the intensity is expressed in terms of the wavelength and output power, where P is the output power of laser. And lambda is the wavelength. So let us take example of helium neon laser. So the output power is of the order of 1 milliwatt and the wavelength of helium neon laser is 6328 angstrom, that is 6328 into 10 raised to minus 10 meter. So if we put these values into our equation, so we will get this 100, 10 square is 100 into 1 milliwatt, so it is 1 into 10 raised to minus 3 watt upon 6328 into 10 raised to minus 10 meter, and that comes out to be 2.5 into 10 raised to 11 watt per meter square. That means a laser beam of output power only few milliwatt, that means 1 milliwatt, can produce intensity of this order 2.5 into 10 raised to 11 watt per meter square. To obtain the light of same intensity from the ordinary tungsten bulb, we need to heat that tungsten filament to the temperature 4.6 into 10 raised to 6 Kelvin. So we have to heat the tungsten filament up to this temperature 4.6 into 10 raised to 6 Kelvin. In that case only we can get this much intense light. We know the normal operating temperature of tungsten filament, which is 2000 Kelvin. So the normal operating temperature of tungsten filament is nearly equal to this 2000 Kelvin.